who hurt you. I wonder who made you so mad. Tell me, where did you learn to be so negative? You're such a drag. 'Cause every time you talk it sound like blah 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 blah.
Ladies and gentlemen, in moments, we have Alina Habba sounding off after just one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. Oh man, just an incredible masterstroke. Everybody, there's like a meme. There's like a meme that's like, you didn't understand. We were playing 5D chess. Biatch. And there's a meme of that. And it's nice when that meme comes true in real life. And it just happened, in fact. Trump picks Alina Habba to remain as acting U.S. Attorney for New Jersey after judges reject her for the post. I don't cower to pressure. Let's read on what is 5D chess. Ladies and gentlemen, Alina Habba, President Trump's pick to serve as the New Jersey U.S. Attorney, will continue to serve the Garden State top prosecutor despite a panel of judges rejecting her for the post. Really? This is unique. Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States. Pam Bondi is the attorney general, and I am now the acting U.S. attorney for New Jersey. Habba wrote, I don't cower to pressure, and I don't answer to politics. I fight for justice, and I'm all in. She was tapped for the temporary role by Trump in March. Pending a permanent approval, she had 120 days to serve in that interim capacity. 17 federal judges in the Garden State, mainly appointed by Barack Obama and Joe Biden, opted against extending her tenure and announced an appointment of the first assistant U.S. Attorney General in order to lead the office. Grace was subsequently fired by Pam Bondi, the second that she took that role, who said the DOJ would not tolerate rogue judges. A DOJ official explained to multiple outlets on Thursday that Trump withdrew Habba's nomination to be the U.S. Attorney and that she was appointed to be the first assistant attorney, replacing Grace immediately, as that's how the mechanism works. And that makes Habba the now acting U.S. Attorney in New Jersey. Oh, it's so great. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is. Back again. Back at it again. The great Alina Habba, the New Jersey U.S. Attorney. Welcome to the program. Congratulations. Welcome
Again.
back. And quite the masterstroke here. Could you please explain for our viewers what happened over the last 24 hours? The internet was lit up like a Christmas tree over this. Many people celebrating. Alina, thank you.
Yeah, never a dull moment, I would say. I think that it's kind of unfortunate for my state that any of this is even happening, I'll be honest with you. But yeah, I'm the acting U.S. attorney. Obviously, there's a difference between Article 2 and Article 3 and judges, and they are missing a very important point, which is that the President of the United States picks the United States attorneys. We are part of the executive branch. And I guess they preempted and struck out, but here we are. So I'm still the acting U.S. attorney. I'm ready to rock and roll and get back to work, which is what this is all supposed to be about. This is just a lot of noise, and it's unfortunate because I have a great office. I have roughly 300 people that work for me, and I've got great prosecutors and people that it doesn't matter what your politics are. We're supposed to do our job, which is to clean up crime and to take care of the biggest, most important prosecutors in the state, going after all of that. And instead, there's been this political noise that really has no place in the Department of Justice. And it's funny because they used to tell me, how do we know you're not going to be political? Meanwhile, their behavior is exactly that. It's incredibly politically charged, and it's unfortunate.
Perhaps you could explain for our audience who was bewildered by this, Alina, how is it possible that rogue district judges would be able to usurp the power of the presidency? We've seen it happening so often, many smackdowns at the Supreme Court, but seems to be a real crisis. Perhaps the only major crisis for the administration has been the usurpation by the judiciary of presidential power.
Yeah, to put it in really simple terms, it's a complicated mechanism what's happening, and it's frankly, I think, a broken one. Let's say you're in a state and you become the U.S. attorney, generally speaking. There is a tradition called a blue slip that would be passed so that the nominees, that was me, can get in front of Senate, and then you can vote no or yes. That's your prerogative as a senator. Anybody can do it, but it was tradition, and it is tradition that you get a blue slip, right? And then you go in front, you put your documents, they question you, they can take rounds asking you things to make sure you're there for the right reasons. And then even if you don't want that person, you can then vote no. What we're seeing is a systemic problem where they're using the blue slip courtesy, it's not a law, as a mechanism to block the appointed U.S. attorneys for the Department of Justice by the president. And that puts those U.S. attorneys in a position where they're kind of stuck, and you're in this freeze and you can't get out, and then they'll run the clock on you. And basically what ends up happening is they're attempting to thwart the president's powers. And it's what we saw in unfortunately with the Senate minority leader in my situation was direct instructions on Twitter telling the federal judges, as a senator, as the Senate minority leader, to vote and block me, because once it gets out of the Senate's ownership, the judges, if you're an interim, can vote to keep you. So I stepped down as the interim and released my nomination, and I'm now the acting U.S. attorney.
So there was a strategic error made here. Is that correct? By Democrats who wished to usurp presidential power and try and torpedo your nomination. There was a critical error in timing made where the timing simply didn't work. They hadn't run their calendar correctly, I guess.
It seems that there was a timing mistake.
Okay.
I can't speak about politics, so
sure.
I'm not. It's not. It's a very basic system. You have 120 days as interim. I stepped down the day before.
Okay. Well, we've been a strong ally of everything that you're doing there in the state. You've been clearly delivering. You've even gone on raids yourself. I think one of your first days, you suited up and assisted in the catching of some predators and some gangbangers.
Yeah.
And
I'll continue to, Benny. You know what's funny is I was criticized for it, and people I see the comments and the nonsense, and why is she wearing that, and I have to, because I have so many death threats. So I am not allowed to not wear a bulletproof vest if I'm going into a scenario and watching. Help, support, and praying is what I do. Actually, I show up at 5 a.m. and I pray with my law enforcement agents, my local, state, federal. I love doing it, and it's frankly exactly what they need. They've had their wings clipped for so long. So I'm a major back the blue person, but I get out there not for anything outside of the fact that I risk my own safety, and obviously I have to listen to the United States Marshals when they tell me that I can only go if you put and frankly, that's the same reason that anybody has to do that. It's a safety issue, and we all do it. And then I pray with them. I let them do their job, and they know that I was there in the morning to support them. And I don't, I was criticized, imagine, for supporting our law enforcement. I'm not sure what the anger there is, but it's insanity to me. And these are the exact things. I called balls and strikes with some cases that I wish had never had to come to my plate, but my job as the U.S. attorney is to consistently be a non-political person who looks at everything, looks at evidence, and just calls balls and strikes. And if that makes somebody upset, I'm sorry, but it will not stop me from doing what I need to do, which is keeping New Jersey safe, making sure law enforcement can do their job, and ensuring that the people in my state, and I have the whole district. So in New Jersey, it's a little different. There's only one U.S. attorney. So
Mm.
for me, we've got 9 million roughly people that it's my responsibility to make sure that if you break the law, you are held accountable for breaking the law. And that doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you do. I took this job full well knowing that it was a complete shift from what I used to do. And it's been the exact uh job and dream job that any lawyer could ask for, truly. And I hope I'm making a difference. I know we've, in June alone, we arrested almost 300 violent criminals, and I'm going to continue to do so. And hopefully this nonsense that's happening surrounding what is clearly, in my opinion, a separation of powers issue, it is going to stop, so that we can get back to the job that everybody wanted to do that ever became a U.S. attorney or a prosecutor.
Humbly, Alina, we've been watching what's been going on in New Jersey, and we think we've pinpointed what you did to pluck a nerve. And it was when federal officers were assaulted by a sitting member of Congress and other elected Democrats. You can see it here, clear as day, on the footage that the Department of Homeland Security gave us from a body cam, where New Jersey Representative Congresswoman LaMonica McIver elbows, shoves, punches, and assaults federal officers. And I've told many Republican members of Congress that I would disown you if there was ever footage of you behaving like this towards law enforcement. And that's just a matter of fact. Alex Padilla, also in the Senate, in that body, bum rushing and charging and screaming at Kristi Noem, and then crying on the Senate floor about how he was arrested. Well, this is just what gets you arrested. And it's humiliating, but it's also quite a trend, in fact, to see. Now, you were able to return 3 indictments, is that correct, against Congresswoman McIver?
I can't speak about this case because it's open. But yes, it speaks for itself. Yes, there was an indictment.
Yeah. Well, I think that this is obviously how this is clearly what ruffles some feathers is accountability. Perhaps you can.
It shouldn't be, Benny. Can I be honest with you?
Please.
It should have nothing to do with it. And there was not a question that some choices I made were interpreted one way or another. But the truth of the matter is, it's just, for me, very simple. Did you break the law? Did you break the law? It doesn't
Yes.
matter who you are, what your politics are. If you broke the law in my state, you will be held accountable. Period. The end. Now, if you want to interpret that and make it this, that, and the other, and say whatever the noise is, well, you're a politician. I'm not a politician. I'm a U.S. attorney. My job, as I said yesterday, is to uphold justice, to enforce the law. And that is all I am doing. And if that irritates people, that's not really on me. That sounds like a you problem. But I'm going to keep doing what I need to do, which is to keep New Jersey safe. And it's critical. And you can't do it and look at what anybody's background is. You don't care, and I don't care. It's the truth. It sounds like a lot of fear and noise, and maybe that's a compliment at the end of the day.
Yeah, maybe we can just zoom out 50,000 foot here, and we can put up the indictments right here. This is what you posted. But maybe just asking the question, like, this is, I tend to agree, no one is above the law. And I heard that nonstop for the last 4 years. It just seems like some people do believe they are above the law. And not only that, there's this just stunning trend of attacks on law enforcement, attacks on federal officers, attacks on our uniformed service members.
Yeah.
And it's disgraceful. And it's the only way it stops is if people stop it, like people in your position.
It has to stop. I mean, I'm not really understanding what they're so mad about. And when I hear some of these people say, oh, they shouldn't wear masks, or they shouldn't, why are they dressed a certain, safety is number one priority. These people are sacrificing away from their families, putting their lives in danger to make sure we stay safe. And then you want to dox them. So what? So somebody like me, who has literally an indictment happened against somebody who's trying to kill me a couple weeks ago. I have had numerous threats on my life since coming here. And then people criticize you when you just try and be safe and make sure that you're doing your job and the people around you that protect you are doing their job. I don't get what you stand for. What do you stand for when you're pro-crime? What
Yeah.
is that? I can't get it. I don't get it. I'm not pro-crime. You know what I am? Not pro-crime. So if you have an issue with that, I mean, you can paint me any color you want. I'm just not for crime. I'm not for people hurting our police and law enforcement and feds. And it's my job to make sure they know I'm behind them, and I will be behind them in the state of New Jersey. It's also my job to make sure New Jersey feels safer while I'm there. And that is 100% what I will not stop doing. It might irritate people. Maybe they want to, and it's just a lot of noise and fakeness. But the truth of the matter is, every day we go to work, we take a look at every single case in the same way. Did they violate a law? How bad was it? The degree of it? What should we do? And we make those decisions every day with a great group of prosecutors that have worked in my office and do their job. And it's got to stop. I don't understand. I mean, why would you want criminals roaming the street? Why wouldn't you want our law enforcement to help us so that people don't get shot outside the GW bridge, right? Lake and
Yes.
Riley. Like, I could go on and on and on. And then you want to hurt them? I don't think so. That's
Yeah.
not happening in my state. It's just not.
Just really quickly here, and final question, Alina, is what is your message to people who are trying to stop you? We've obviously been covering your career and been excited to have you on the program through many iterations of you sort of standing up against the machine, sometimes you alone on the courthouse steps against the mob, let's just say. I just don't think people know Alina Habba the way that we do on this program.
They don't.
They're trying to pull dirty tricks. What's your
and
message?
I'll share some information with you.
Please.
I have never once spoken to Hakeem Jeffries. I have never once gotten a returned phone call from Andy Kim, and I've never once met Cory Booker. I would invite them to work with me for the state of New Jersey. That's my advice, because if you care about our people, put politics aside and let's work together to make New Jersey safe. That would be my message. I would invite you to do what you are supposed to do, and that means you put the state first. Stop judging me because you don't know me. And instead, look at the work. Look at the amount of crime we've taken down. Look at the cases, what we did in June alone. Operation Apex Hammer. Look at some of the things that people are covering, and stop trying to make me an enemy. I am not. I am truly a better friend than they would think if we work together. I mean, the president always said this. Could you imagine if politics weren't so divisive and we could actually just work together to come together and take care of a common goal, which is to
Yes.
keep New Jersey safe? Stop with
Yes.
the noise. This is not part of your campaign. Let's get crime off the streets. Work with me. They have
Yes.
never even spoken to me ever. And I reached out a ton of times to both of them, and they would not return my call. And the only time Cory Booker responded was an hour after my vote. And then he canceled it anyway. So I really invite them. I am a force. I know that, but join with me and let's get cleaned up. Let's do the right thing. That's what my message would be. It's not one of hatred. I have no hatred in my heart. For me, it's let's work together. I've been begging them to do it. I think we should do it. And if we did, we could do amazing things.
Just one quick follow up on that, since you brought it up. Working with Democrats, you have sued the state of New Jersey, I believe, and we've been talking about that on this program over the voter rolls and having safe and secure elections, something that I think everybody agrees is a 90-10 issue. Cleaning up your voter rolls, voter ID. Can you give us a quick update on the security of elections in the state of New Jersey?
Sure. I created an election integrity task force, which again, you can interpret it however you want, but that we should not have dead people voting. We should not have people voting that shouldn't be. It's something that I think should be rolled out. And I know that we have had a back in action and get them working on election integrity, which means that people that are supposed to vote, people that aren't, don't. We don't have dead people voting, so that we can clean up. And it's really something we should have in this country, generally speaking. I think it's very important. Very
Yes.
important. People need to feel like their votes count, and people need to feel like they're not being outvoted by dead people or multiple ballots. Or that's just not, that's part of the federal government's job, is to make sure that we're safe, secure, and that we're following the laws. So I think that's an important part of it. But like I said, it's there hand in hand with violent crime and everything else we're focused on.
It's so refreshing to hear. Godspeed, U.S. Attorney Alina Habba for the state of New Jersey. Congratulations, everybody. Go follow here. She's got 100,000 followers here on her official account there. And you're doing God's work, Alina. We're so proud of you. Way to go, defeat the machine again.
Thank you. Thank you.